And it looks like we're live Wednesday morning, coffee, OpenFlip, flip class chat. It's week 5, so we've gone through all 4 pillars, the FLIP. There will be a test later on what they are. And we're talking about whatever we want to talk about because there haven't been many questions come in. I think people are pretty busy getting their first flip activity going. So I think what we could talk about is kind of our perspectives on how to get started, how to do your first flip activity right or wrong. And I'll start by introducing our guests today. We have Audrey McLaren she's in Montreal, Canada, I believe still, right?
That's right.
Excellent. And Audrey can tell us a couple things about herself.
Well, I teach math. I've been teaching for 28 years. Wow. So I started when I was born. The last 7 years I've been teaching exclusively online in live online classes, not canned online classes, but live ones.
Mm-hmm.
They say I teach math, high school math, and started flipping 2011, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Audrey does a lot of online learning, but also online live learning, which is important for people that are trying to figure out how this works, or the ones that are hesitant to jump online with us in Google Hangouts, where it's just fun. We chat and hang out and talk to each other. And the other thing that, Audrey, I think you're still involved in pretty heavily is the GeoGebra, right?
Yes, although I'm really using Desmos a lot more because I've come up with something called Desmos Activity Builder, which is fabulous. It works perfectly with Flip Math class because if you're wondering what to do during class, man oh man, Desmos Activity Builder is the answer. So
awesome. So the math teachers can reach out to Audrey and all of our other math flippers. And we'll pass along to Raquel because Brian's got something in his mouth and he's eating.
Well, hello everyone. I'm a teacher here at Tec de Monterrey, Campus Monterrey. And right now I'm teaching classes about numerical methods, programming, and right now, sorry for all the light here, but I'm in the computing lab. If it sounds like too crowded here, it's because I have my students here with me. So they are working, I am doing the Hangout. And I think I can help you with how to start doing flipping in classes that have to do with numbers. Just like Audrey, I've been using this method, and for me it has worked very well. And I have all the research and the numbers that support this affirmation.
And Raquel's working on her dissertation.
Yeah, right.
For her PhD.
My endless work with that.
Yeah, we won't bug you about that. Friends don't ask friends how their dissertation are going.
Exactly.
And we'll let Brian talk now before he puts that bottle to his mouth.
Yeah, I'm Brian Bennett, and I teach high school science in Indiana, in the United States. I've been a teacher. Let's see, this is year number 7 for me, and I've flipped a lot of those years. I started way back in like 2010. So, yeah, I do science stuff. I'm interested in writing better material. So right now, I'm in the middle of trying to create a game for my students for like sustainability stuff. This is like consuming my day. I want them to play like Dungeons and Dragons, but about sustainability. Like, so they have to figure out how to save the world. 4 people in a room. It's up to them.
Awesome.
But that's kind of stuff I'm interested in. Is moving past kind of the intro video thing, and this would assess how well they can actually use what they're learning.
So they don't have to save their half-elf healer. They have to focus on saving the world.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons geek check. All right. And we'll go across to Kate, who just jumped in. Hey, Kate.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry, we didn't do this last week.
I know, I missed you guys last week. I always like our little open flip chats. So, yes. Today we have here is your our promo for food. I'm eating a 1-bar today for lunch, chocolate chip flavor, first time doing it, as well as drinking water. So there's our lunch for today. Nothing
It's
exciting.
becoming a sponsorship thing.
Yeah, I know.
Develop YouTube funding.
I know.
So lots of people watched Kate. I know Carolina Buitrago's going to probably come in from Colombia here in a few minutes. I know she wanted to talk to Kate, so we'll hook that up. And so that's really the introductory part, and I'll let Carolina introduce herself when she jumps in. So I'll just leave it out to anyone who wants to talk about how to jump into this. Maybe they've been looking at what we've talked about for the 4 pillars of flipping, and this all sounds interesting. They've got past maybe I'm scared, I don't know how to do this, I don't have any help, at least at my institution, just you weird people on the internet. How do you get started planning your first flipped class activity? Maybe we'll start with Audrey, back to Audrey, if she wants to jump in.
Like how did I, I actually did.
What you did, or what you recommend not to do, or to do, or?
Okay, I don't know if I'd recommend it, but I'll tell you what I did. I actually taught a lesson like normal, like, lecture style. But I mean, even my lectures, we all get kids to do stuff during it. But but then I had that same lesson as a backup on a tool called VoiceThread. So that night, instead of giving them any practice homework, I said, okay, watch this lesson again, and this time, put in your questions or whatever. So I started out that way. So it really was, I wasn't doing anything different except just, giving them the same lesson twice. And that seemed safer somehow, because I kind of felt like I was still doing, it wasn't that much of a big step for me. I also found VoiceThread was really easy to use instead of Camtasia at first, because I already had all of my lessons on PowerPoint. That's because of the job I have. I really don't have it. I have no choice about that in the online environment. You really want to have, slides made up in advance. So.
Okay.
That's how I started. I'd recommend, if you're scared, I'd recommend take baby steps. Do one lesson at a time. Don't change what you're doing, just change when you're doing it at first.
Right. Good points. I'm trying to invite Carolina here, and actually Amy Alvis was asking, she missed your introduction, so I just hooked you up on Twitter. Thanks. Thanks, Amy. We're looking for questions too, by the way. So we'll go across to, Carolina's here. Can we hear you, Carolina? You're muted. Microphone unmute. There we go. Hello.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself, Carolina. I haven't heard your voice for a while.
Okay, I was hearing 2 things. Thank you. Hi, Kim. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here finally. I always watch you. I always go on Twitter. Never been here at the same time.
Good. Did you want to tell us about yourself? English teacher, ESL, Colombia.
Well, I teach at a graduate program for English language teachers. I actually teach for both the online and the face-to-face programs. We teach teachers how to build different environments, basically working with technology, but also without. It's a teacher training program for them to improve the quality of their teaching. And, well, a master's degree, so there's a lot going on. In my class, Autonomous Learning Environments, I have decided to flip that class, and I have also included flipped learning as one of the topics or constructs within the instructional design model. So now students are learning how to flip their lessons, and they have the option if they want to, to start flipping in their own schools where they work.
Okay, cool. Thanks for joining us, Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's your colleagues there in Colombia that are active as well, so I found their post interesting. And
Yes.
Brian, how do you get started on this? Do you jump in? Do you baby step?
Yeah, I kind of baby stepped and then I jumped in. My AP chemistry students were having problems with their homework, so I started. I was on the AP listserv. I mean, who remembers listservs, right? Email lists. Ayo. So I'm not that young. we would, I sent a question. I said, I have no idea how to help these kids. There's no time during school. They don't come after school. What do I do? And John Bergman wrote, and he said, make a video. And I said, I don't know what that means. And so I started recording homework videos, like answers to the short answer questions from the AP exam. So I would teach it in class, and then I would post a video after school, like 4 or 5 o'clock. And they would come in the next day like, that was so helpful. Like, totally changed how they approached their homework. And that was kind of my intro to it. And it's a great way. I didn't change anything about my classroom. I was a second-year teacher. First-year teacher, actually, at that point, is the end of my first year teaching. And so I was trying to figure out my own chops as I went, but starting with homework answers, especially for the technical stuff that they were having a hard time with, was an easy way to start. And then that summer, I started working on my lessons, actually removing content from the community space, like Ramsey Psalm talks about. So I baby stepped a little bit, but that first year I really did go for it all the way.
Awesome. I'm going to tweet something right now because I wanted to tweet out Ramsey as a link there. And then I'll pass over to Kate.
So how I flip, we do a lot with autonomy in my classroom, and what I'll do is create, say, a slide deck in Google Slides of resources for them to progress through. Because it's nice, like, if you put each step on a different slide to kind of bring up what Brian said about, like, the game kind of piece. It does kind of give them, like, steps for them to go through. Now, structurally, or kind of, how we work in my classroom, we'll do create the slide deck in Google Slides, and then I'll drop that into Edmodo. And then in Edmodo, they'll get the link. Maybe they'll respond to my post with questions. Maybe we'll do a little bit of class discussion inside Edmodo. And then they'll have some kind of assignment to do with it. It could be an Edmodo quiz, or it could be something that they're doing in Google Docs. But I really like the functionality of Google Slides because I can mix the video with the text. So I can put in my own video. I can also put in instructions that are just textual, or I can find stuff that other people have created. And that's been really useful so that visually they see the specific steps of a task or steps of a lesson, and then they know to work through it at a certain pace. So I also will flip for chunks of time. So for example, this week, for the next 3 days, today through to Friday, my students are working with some introductory material on the Odyssey, and they're doing Greek mythology stuff. But while they're doing that, I am meeting with students individually in class because at home they've been working on an essay that we've been doing. And so by flipping in class with them, watching a video, doing different tasks to acquire information and knowledge that they don't need me at the front of the room for, now that frees me to have time to meet with students for little mini writing conferences during the class time. And that's been working really well so far the past few days, because a lot of this is about juggling what we do and how to fit it all in.
Okay, great. I like. Do we need to do it the video? How do we deal with this? The students didn't watch the video, or the students didn't do the pre-work your first time around in flipping. How did you deal with that, or how do you recommend dealing with that? I know my answer, but I want you guys to talk.
They don't get the option to say no. You didn't do it at home? Okay, you're going to take the first 5 minutes and do it now. Like, you fell behind, you're going to have to catch up. It's not an option. And
that's an excellent point. It seems totally obvious, but it's an excellent point, and some of us don't feel like we can do that.
No, you can't let them, because why did they skip it? They skipped it because they're trying to get out of it. Oh, well, I don't need to do it. No, you need to do it. It's not an option. And
Right.
If you have the class structured autonomously, where they're given the freedom of choice, well then, okay, they can go do catch up quickly in class.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys all do?
Raquel's got her hand coming up there. Unmute though, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, talking about the pre-working class, we all know that it's very important. So just like Ed said, we don't give them the option. Unfortunately, I don't know if all your students are like that. But the first semester that I added the videos, I mean, I explained to them that they were very important, that they cannot start doing the activity without them, but still they did not watch them. So what I did was add some kind of evidence, okay, that is evaluated whether you did it or not. So everyone can do that homework. It's just watch the video and give me, I don't know, it can be something very easy, like a mind map or something on the content from the video. And if you don't do that, when you come to class, you have to watch the video and then start doing the practice. So obviously some of them do not finish, or they see that their classmates are leaving early because they already did everything and they want to leave, but they haven't done the homework. So by the second or third class, most of the students watch the video because they know that if they do things fast enough, they can use that time on something else, either in the classroom if it's too early because I cannot let them out like 30 minutes before the class ends, or if it's not that much of time, they can leave and do something else. That's basically what I did.
Okay. You got something to add, Carolina?
Yeah.
Typing in Twitter here.
Actually, I work, let's say, in two contexts with flipping. So the one with my graduate students, it works like a charm. I mean, I'm changing lots of readings and lots of things for videos, so they actually prefer to watch the video. It's much nicer, it's easier, it's faster. I give them the video in order to help them organize the information they have to read. So of course for them it's actually easier and they do it, they enjoy it. But on the other hand, I'm flipping with a colleague, with Juliana Diaz. She teaches EFL. And for her is a challenge. Students, they don't watch the videos before class, or if they do as if they were watching, you know, like some song or something, like not paying attention, not really taking care of what they are supposed to be watching. So anyway, what she's doing now, before she used to have either a Kahoot quiz or a ProProfs quiz, you know, to kind of hold students accountable for what they were doing. But that didn't work much because they kind of liked it, they did it, they answered the quiz, but they didn't feel they needed to watch the video to answer the quiz. You know, students in Colombia, as you may know, Ken, in Mexico, they have worked with English all of their life, so probably they have that knowledge, you know, dormant in there. So when doing a quiz, they can either guess or remember, and so it was not really, it was not trustworthy, you know, that way of checking for understanding or checking for whether students had watched or not the videos. So what she's doing is what Raquel is doing now, like, you know, giving them 5 minutes within the class to watch the video there, but then, yeah, they feel they are falling behind from the rest of the course. So, well, let's hope to see how that works, because she's just implementing that this semester, and this is like the 4th, 5th week of class, so we have to wait and see how that turns out at the end.
Excellent. Excellent. You just made a point there about the students not watching the videos or how to watch the videos, being distracted, so I just linked Jonathan's video about for students on how to watch flipped class videos. Mr. Flipping Physics. Amy, yes, I did get your question, so here we go. Other than videos, what other activities do you have students do at home? Could I get? Who wants to answer? Raquel? She's raising her hand. This is fun. It's like the increment class.
Yeah, I know. Well, basically, I was going to tell exactly what you did with the link, because that is something very important. We assume that students know how to watch an educational video, and they don't. So we have to train them. Otherwise, we are not going to get the results we want. On talking about what other activities do I have other than videos, well, I try to do like the most used way, then leave them like the material in PDF or the PowerPoints or that. But actually, what I can say is that that does not work as well as the video, because they simply don't like to read. So I decided to leave everything with the videos, and also what I am doing is I don't leave like the practice outside the classroom because they feel like they are being overloaded. Okay, so it changes all the perspective on the flipping, because how I sell them this before starting, because we have to explain them exactly what we are going to do and why are we doing it, because otherwise they think the teacher does not want to work because you don't want to explain them in the classroom. So how I sell this is, okay, I am going to assign you a video homework that everyone is capable on doing, because I am not going to give you a grade. It's either whether to do it or not. And here in the classroom, we're going to do the practice. And the classroom tends to be like a huge tutoring session, just like Kate was explaining, she's doing it. So leaving them practice problems for homework, like confuse them because on how I am like explaining them the concept. So I tried PDFs, I tried text, and I found that it was not as effective as video.
Interesting. I know Kate would jump in there about, we're talking about how to watch a flip video, and I think we, especially in literature, we get the experience that they don't know how to read academically either. It's not sit back and in a hammock and read. You're actually having to do some activities with it.
Yeah, that's actually been the focus of my capstone and research project for my master's in instructional technology, is on how to transfer paper-based active reading skills to the digital realm, but really just about getting students to actively read in the first place. You know, one thing I found with them is that if they perceive a text as easy to read, then they won't be active with it. But then at the same time, if they think it's too hard, they don't even want to try in the first place with it.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Exactly. You got to find that sweet spot. So, I mean, we'll do a lot of the reading in class, but I'll do videos that will model the process, and so that they can go back and see that whenever. And plus, I don't feel like I'm repeating myself 80,000 times. You know, here's the same old model again and again by offloading it to video.
I don't have more questions. Kate linked. Yep, go ahead, Audrey.
Just another answer to what else to give the kids at night. I've tried a few times something called What Would the Teacher Say, where it's well, again, I use VoiceThread, which is something that they can put their voice into, but I don't put my voice into it. I've done this for new procedures where they already know, they already have all the tools for this particular procedure, so I don't need to teach them. It's just they have to, you know, figure out how to put it together. So I've made a series of slides showing the steps, and they have to put their voice into it. So it's kind of like they're helping make the video in a way. So that's, other than, I mean, they do also get some, you know, practice stuff to do at home, and then get help with it the next day in class as well. It's not always videos. I mean, nobody gives videos every night. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. And I've noticed that the only videos, I stopped making kind of videos that I decide what my students need. I've done a lot more of, I'm just going to wait for requests to come in. And my students request, oh, can you do a video on how to do this? Or straight out, explain to me how to do that. No, I won't explain to you. I'll just do a video for it. Or I do it live in front of the students, actually, sometimes. And I noticed that sometimes they're asking me to do something, and I go, oh, yeah, I did that last semester. It's up there on YouTube. And they find my YouTube channel and start browsing across that. So that's really useful. I'm gonna tie it back to first lesson, or first flip lesson. What should we do after that first lesson to reflect on it? Brian's nodding. No, he's talking to someone. What should we do after the flip lesson? Yeah.
When I was student teaching, my teacher always had me reflect on everything. So I would teach like a 3-minute bell ringer, and she would sit me in the back and like write down 2 things you did well and 1 thing you need to fix. And I'm like, okay. But it's become habit for me, you know. So every time I do something, whatever that something is, I sit down and I think, all right, what went well, what didn't go well. And it's helped me, and I don't leave it. I used to be in the habit of, like, so I've got my notebook, and I write everything down, but I used to be in the habit of, like, oh, I'll come back to my notebook next year. Well, I never did, right? So my videos, I wouldn't notice them the day before, like, oh, this one really stinks, I need to fix it. So I've gotten more in the habit of fixing it now in the moment while I'm thinking about it, and then when I loop back around, it's already done. I don't have to worry about it. So, like, being honest with yourself and asking for feedback from students, what worked well, what didn't work well. They may say something you didn't expect, like, we couldn't quite see what you wrote here, we couldn't see what this said right there. Sometimes it's, negligible if they could see or not, but at the same time, they can often bring up things that you don't tend to notice yourself when you're making, because you already know everything. It's hard to put yourself into their position where they don't know anything for the first time.
Right.
So.
I think for a lot of us, we're blogging a lot, and even this course, I mean, my point about this course isn't so much about teaching flipping, it's about teaching being reflective in our practices and connecting with others, because it's a connective as MOOC, and for me, that's more the point. But I think, and I've had discussions with George Koros on Twitter, and a lot of discussions with Alan Levine about, we get a lot of this stuff, and for us, a lot of these types of reflective processes are obvious, and for a lot of teachers, they're not. So I think we shouldn't overlook that point of being reflective about our process and either doing it openly or closed. Who else wanted to add some nuggets of wisdom there?
Just one thing about what to do in that first lesson. I think in any lesson, you have to interact, the kids have to interact with each other and with you over the actual content that was in the lesson. Next, like even a simple thing like getting them to summarize the video, like Crystal Perch's Whisk, or something like that. Either have them do that before class or do that the very next day in class. It's interesting to hear their summaries, because sometimes what's helpful is to collect them all and have them build a class summary, using a little bit of what everybody's got in their little mini summaries. That's a simple thing to do on the first day.
Shouting out to Crystal and Whisks and putting a link up there. Someone else want to add something there while I'm typing their Twitter?
Also, that not only teachers are supposed to reflect upon what went well and what went wrong, probably students also should be invited to do that. We have started using some formats, like self-assessment formats, and students kind of look at us like, why are you doing this? Why is this so weird? Why do I have to think about what I did, in class? And so that way they start seeing what is purposeful, what is not purposeful, what is useful for them in their specific majors, what's and what this class or the learning is doing for them. So it's not just about covering, material in a textbook, but it's actually about learning something. So we encourage them to reflect as well at the end of every lesson, especially this first one. Why did you think this was different? What was different from any other lesson you have taken this far? How did you feel about it? Would you like to do it again? How do you think you could improve and do it better next time? So I think inviting students to do this reflection also strengthens a lot the process.
I got something, but I'll let other people talk because I talk too much.
Well, I like that you brought up the formative assessment piece, because that's after you do the first lesson, in addition to the reflection, you got to make sure that they got it. Did they understand the material and the content? So there needs to be some sort of application of the material, or some sort of formative assessment that you can make sure that they got it. My students love Kahoot. Oh my God, the most boringest topic. I put it into a Kahoot, and they're out of their seats, they're yelling and screaming, they're on their devices ready to go and cue in their answer. I'm like, okay, well, we're certainly engaged in our learning, but that piece of it too will help to get them fired up and to continue the process for the next round of learning that's going to go on.
Yeah, I think it's that competitive nature that just comes out. And it happens all the time, and I think, oh, this is just stupid doing another Kahoot, but they love it, so
My God.
Gets them out of their seats. Definitely. Definitely. What was I going to add there? I give a shout out to Kahoot and some other stuff there. I'm at a loss there.
I mentioned EdPuzzle too.
Oh yeah.
But that's a great tool. Zaption and EduCanon. Those are other tools that to check for if they're watching the video, because there's checks for understanding within it. The video will pause, student has to answer a question, and then the teacher get that feedback on whether or not they got it. I find EdPuzzle very, very useful.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So Amy loved your point about what would the teacher say, Audrey. And I was thinking about that related to this idea of reflective process, and the students aren't used to this reflective process as well. And we just kind of assume, or at least I assume, that they're going to get this point about putting their blogs up and sharing with each other and looking at each other's work. And I think we need to remind our students this, the concept of what would the teacher say, or as Keith Hughes says, looking beyond the mirror and thinking outside you and how other people are going to interpret your questions or your ideas or what other people are looking for from you. I don't know if that's exactly what Audrey was trying to say in terms of what would the teacher say, but I find there's a relation there.
That's way deeper than what I was trying to say.
I was just connecting people. That's what I do. I connect things like Lego. But I was just thinking about this yesterday because my students were struggling with why blog, and I was pointing them to each other's blogs for answers that they were asking me, and always focusing on the teacher for the answer as opposed to creating a community of learning, which I find extremely important in my class, and I would guess it's way more important when you're online. So I think we're up on time. It's about half an hour, and it's good when we run out of time. I like that. We do this every Wednesday morning for the next 2 weeks, I guess. We're already into week 5, starting at 0. We have 2 more weeks next week, and this week they're working on their flip lesson. And then the last week will be wrap up of the course, and then we'll probably do this again in the summer. It's the OpenFlip course. We did this last year. I know Audrey was with us last year, Brian was, and Kate. And I think it's the first time we have Carolina on this type of hangout. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central and 7 p.m. Central on Thursday nights. So we'll be on again tomorrow night if someone wants to join us. And by request, we can do it in Spanish too. And you can laugh at my Spanish. All right, so I'll let people wrap up. Anything to add before we hit the stop recording button? Ding, ding, ding.
Happy flipping.
Happy flipping. Brian, Audrey?
You know what, I've always thought, like, even people who don't want to actually flip their class, just do yourself a favor and make a little video of something that you want to teach. That's a huge learning experience, even if it doesn't go any further than that.
Even if you don't publish it, just watching yourself.
That's right.
And your facial expressions.
Is exactly hearing yourself, all the ums and the uhs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a great teaching tool. Even recording your sessions in class are awesome. And Kate?
Just be willing to experiment and try. That fail is really the first attempt at learning, or first attempt in learning. So just be willing to experiment. It doesn't have to be perfect. Learn from your mistakes and revise and redo and carry on.
Excellent. And Brian?
What Kate said, I think.
Excellent.
yeah, try it out. Start with stuff you're asked about all the time. That's whatever that question is that drives you crazy. Start with that.
Excellent. Well, I'll wrap up, and thanks everyone. Oh, Carolina, jump in.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say that just as any teaching and learning experience, flipping is also a never-ending process. You're going to learn every time you do it, and you're going to do it. You're going to want to do it better every day. So, of course, you're going to learn every day. It's just an amazing way to empower yourself as a teacher.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Happy birthday, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Send out your Dr. Seuss memes today. All right. Thanks
Ken.
very much, and we'll be talking again soon. I really appreciate everyone's time.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.